Good morning, guys. Welcome to the new series. I think I've decided to call this Cross Fixins, getting your cross fix on. Like we talked about in the last video, this is basically going to be a way for us to get excited and get racing, but not racing. Just give us a little bit of something that we can get excited about. Get in that zone. Stuff we all love. You can geek out on some tech. You can get out and practice some training. You can run some drills, run some skills, get faster, keep that excitement going, but with no racing. I just pulled this off of the shelf at the shop. Figured first things first, we should start with the tools for the job and make sure everything's up to par. It's been sitting. We have an upper rack of all our bike storage, and it's been up there. So it's been collecting a little bit of dust. So let's get it freshened up. Let's get it polished up. Let's get it ready for what we're gonna throw at it this series. I mean, I feel bad for it. It's been sitting around, but with all the other bikes that different categories of bikes we got, you got to mix it up. So these do tend to sit for a little while, but we have pulled it off the shelf, and let's get started. We're gonna run through not how-tos on this stuff, just what I'm doing and things I'm gonna look for, things you should look for before we get started, and make sure we don't go out for a ride and something happens, right? It's been sitting there, it's been neglected. There may be varying levels of neglect going on your cross bikes. Hopefully you've kept it up to par. I feel pretty good about this. We put it away in a really good state, so it shouldn't take much to bring it back out. But if you've been neglecting it a lot and you put it away real dirty, there might be a little bit more work to do there, so you're gonna have to dig deep. Go back into some of my other videos and see about washing properly, servicing bottom brackets, chains, brake pads, brake bleeds, all that kind of stuff. Dive through all that. This is not a how-to video. It's just gonna be things that I'm gonna do. So let's get going. All right, first things first, make sure the tires are aired up, running good. These are my race tubulars, but I'm gonna be spending most of my time when I'm racing, or doing this stuff, I should say. I'm gonna spend most of my time on some 30 course training wheels, but these are on here. Let's make sure these are working well too. Always magical 28 PSI. Something to take note on the tubular front. If you are riding tubulars year after year after year, you're gonna wanna make sure that you inspect the tire itself, right? A lot of times, these have been sitting in an air-conditioned shop for the entire off season, and so I'm not super concerned about temperature fluctuations in this and how it would react with the tire. If you are storing them in a hot garage or somewhere that's a little bit of an ill environment, extremely warm, extremely damp conditions, then you're gonna wanna inspect the tire itself. You should be gluing re-gluing the tires every year if you're gonna be reusing that same tire, which you can do as long as it's not too blown out. Like this tire is in really, really good shape. But also take note all season, throughout a normal season, but through the off season, on how you're caring for that tire. That way you make sure that you get the maximum life out of that. You just wanna make sure the tire is in good shape. This is the only part that touches the ground, and if they're a tubular, they're glued onto that rim, you go through a turn, you don't want the tire coming apart, you don't want the tire coming off the rim, so just remember that. Just pull the battery off of the charger. As you can see, next up is that we're gonna throw a battery on there. You should always be storing, if you're using electronic, be storing your bikes with the covers on. Don't ever leave them like this. You can leave them with the battery on, that's not gonna hurt anything. Not a good idea to leave them just open-ended. You should always have covers on it. So let's see how we're working here. Light's green. Cool. And next up, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna check the firmware update on this thing. Searching for components. Boom. Authorizing, good to go. Just like your iPhone, it's good to keep these things up to date. Make sure stuff doesn't crash. There is a new firmware update available, so we'll go ahead and take care of that, get it updated. All right, next up, we're just gonna de-dustify the thing, make it shine. Of all the colorways, this is one of my favorites that has come off the production floor. Obviously the ones that were painted for me by Mackenzie are my two favorites, but the off-the-shelf production on this colorway is just fire. as I'm sitting here, it actually sounds like this tire has a flat. So, yeah, there's a little small puncture. We're losing air. That's kind of a bummer, but all right. That is actually a really big bummer. Stuff like that, it kind of bums me out. I wanted this to be simple and work well, but it's not. Do a little bolt check. Dialed. I love it when that first brake grab trick works. Check, while we're here, hit the rotors. Remember, the idea with this is to spend some time in the garage, chill out for a little bit, make sure the bikes are dialed, make sure we touch every little bit of it. So take your time, run through the system, make sure it's good. Two. Make sure our cranks are tight. While we're at it, we're gonna throw on our pedals. And you'll notice for the most part, what I try to always do when doing something like this on the bike is to always work from back to front. For me, that's most efficient. And that way I can make sure that I touch each little thing one by one. Lastly, we got the chain lube. This time of year, it's sunny, it's dry in California. We're gonna go with some ceramic muck off. Slap it on there. Woo. Little hot tip. You put it on the bottom of the chain because then it gets pushed into the chain links on all sides of the derailleur pulley rather than on top of it, having to let it sink in. So we are good to go. If you're running a mechanical system, I would highly recommend that you replace the shift system. If it's running a little heavy, a little sticky, get your derailleur cables in there or at least lubricate them. I would highly recommend is to bleed your brakes. All hydraulic disc brake systems, if they've been sitting, are going to collect moisture. So go ahead and get that brake bled as well. And check your brake pads while you're at it. Check your bearings across the board. Get your cross fixins on here. Get your cross fix. So I'm looking forward to this series. Hopefully you guys are as well. We'll see you guys in the next episode where we actually get on the bikes. All right, that's it. That's a wrap. We'll see you in the next episode. Over and out.